The crystalline transmission tower on Luna Base flickered with alien frequencies as Admiral Corvin Helmsight watched the holographic display materialize before him. The creature that appeared was grotesque, even by xenobiological standards. 12 feet of chitinous armor, mandibles that clicked with mechanical precision, and compound eyes that reflected the cold light of distant stars. "Primitive mammals of the Third World," the being hissed, its translator rendering the alien language into clipped, disdainful tones. "I am Overlord Vex Thara of the Hegemony Collective. Your species has been catalogued, evaluated, and found adequate for servitude." Commander Lyra Ironvault, Earth's chief xenodiplomat, maintained her composure despite the ice forming in her veins. She had prepared for this moment ever since the first Hegemony scout ships had been detected at the edge of the solar system, 3 months ago. The intelligence reports painted a grim picture, a galactic empire spanning thousands of worlds, built on the subjugation of lesser species. "We demand tribute," Vexathera continued, its mandibles spreading in what might have been a smile. 1 billion of your young, healthy specimens for labor colonies, your most fertile breeding stock, your planet's rare minerals, all of them, and complete technological surrender. You have 72 of your rotations to comply." The transmission continued with clinical precision, detailing orbital bombardment capabilities, their fleet of dreadnoughts, and the fates of worlds that had dared resist. Images flashed across the display, glassed planets, skeletal remains of civilizations, entire species reduced to property. General Maxim Stormwright, head of Earth's Defense Coalition, stepped forward. His scarred face betrayed nothing as he absorbed the threat assessment. Behind him, the combined military leadership of Earth's nations watched in silence, each calculating the impossible odds. Furthermore, the alien overlord added with obvious pleasure, "To demonstrate our benevolence, we will only destroy one of your major population centers as an example. Consider it motivation for compliance." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in suffocating silence. Director Vaughn Ashcroft of the Global Intelligence Network was the first to speak. "Preliminary scans show 47 capital ships in their advance fleet. Energy signatures unlike anything in our databases. Each vessel appears capable of planetary bombardment." "How long until they reach Earth?" Admiral Helmsight asked. 68. "Hours at current acceleration," replied Dr. Celeste Nightingale, the astrophysicist who had been tracking their approach. Stormwright's jaw tightened. "And our defensive capabilities?" The room fell silent again. Everyone knew the answer. Earth's combined fleet consisted of 36 vessels, most of them barely space-worthy compared to these alien dreadnoughts. Conventional warfare would be suicide. But Captain Rigel Flintstone, the youngest officer present, stepped forward with a datapad clutched in his trembling hands. "Sir, there might be another option. Project Lazarus." Every head turned toward him. Project Lazarus was humanity's most classified weapons system, a theoretical application of quantum tunneling technology that had never been tested on a large scale. "The delivery system is untested," warned Dr. Nightingale. "The calculations show a 70% chance of catastrophic failure." Admiral Helmsight looked around the room at the faces of Earth's defenders. Outside the reinforced windows, Earth hung in space like a blue marble, fragile, beautiful, and utterly defenseless by conventional standards. 70% chance of failure, he repeated quietly. "That gives us a 30% chance of success. Those are better odds than facing their fleet directly." General Stormwright nodded grimly. "Then we make our choice here and now. We don't negotiate with slavers. We don't surrender our children to alien overlords." He looked directly at the spot where the hologram had been. "We give them humanity's answer." The war room beneath Geneva buzzed with desperate activity as Earth's finest military minds worked against an impossible deadline. 66 hours remained before the hegemony fleet reached Earth, and Project Lazarus, humanity's last gambit, existed only in theoretical equations and untested prototypes. Chief Engineer Darius Ironfall wiped sweat from his brow as he supervised the frantic assembly process. "The quantum resonance chambers need perfect synchronization," he barked at his team. "1 microsecond variance and we'll tear a hole in space-time." Dr. Kepler Shadowmere, the project's lead physicist, hunched over, his calculations for the 100th time. The mathematics were elegant, but terrifying, weaponizing quantum uncertainty itself, turning the universe's fundamental forces into instruments of war. Each missile would exist in a superposition of states until the moment of impact, making them impossible to intercept by conventional means. "The production rate is too slow," muttered Admiral Helmsight as he reviewed the manufacturing reports. They had managed to construct only 12 Lazarus warheads in the past 18 hours, against 47 alien capital ships. It seemed pathetically inadequate. Commander Ironvault burst into the facility, her usually pristine uniform disheveled from her sprint through the corridors. "We've received another transmission from the hegemony fleet. They're demanding our immediate surrender." She activated a portable hologram projector, and once again Overlord Vexithera's repulsive form materialized before them. This time, however, the alien's tone carried amused condescension rather than formal demand. "We have observed your pathetic military preparations," the creature chittered. "Your primitive vessels scatter like frightened insects before our approach. We offer you one final mercy. Surrender now, and we will reduce your tribute by 10%. Continue this resistance, and every major city on your world will burn." The transmission showed horrifying footage. Other worlds that had defied the hegemony. Metropolises reduced to radioactive craters. Continents stripped bare of all life. Entire civilizations erased from existence with casual efficiency. "Your weapons are toys to us," Vexithera continued. "Your courage is admirable but futile. You have 36 hours to reconsider." As the hologram faded, Colonel Barrett Grimstone slammed his fist against the metal table. "Toys? We'll show these bastards what human toys can do." Dr. Shadowmere looked up from his equations with wild eyes. "Actually, they might be right about our conventional weapons. But they don't understand what we're building here. Quantum mechanics doesn't care about your armor thickness or energy shields. These missiles will exist in multiple probability states simultaneously until they interact with their targets." Engineer Ironfall nodded grimly. "Each warhead carries a quantum payload equivalent to several megatons, but delivered through dimensional folding. Their shields won't even register the threat until it's already inside their hulls." General Stormwright studied the technical specifications with growing amazement. "How many can we produce in the remaining time?" "Working around the clock, with every facility on 3 continents contributing components, maybe 40 units. 43 if we push the workers to absolute exhaustion." "Do it," Admiral Helmsight ordered. "Every hour we delay gives them time to get closer to Earth's population centers." Lieutenant Vera Steelheart, the communications officer, raised her hand hesitantly. "Sir, we're receiving thousands of messages from world leaders. They want to know if we should begin evacuation procedures." The question hung in the air like a death sentence. Evacuate Earth's 8 billion people? Where would they go? How could they possibly manage such an impossible logistics nightmare in 36 hours? "No evacuations," Stormwright decided. "If we run now, we're telling our people. We've already lost. Besides, there's nowhere to run to. This fleet would hunt down every colony ship, every escape pod. Our only chance is to make our stand here." As if summoned by his words, Captain Flintstone appeared with a detailed tactical analysis. "The alien fleet has assumed a standard bombardment formation. They're confident, arrogant even. That might work in our favor. Dr. Nightingale pulled up stellar charts showing the enemy's approach vector. They'll reach optimal firing position in 34 hours. If we're going to act, it has to be before they achieve orbital superiority. Admiral Helmsight made the final calculation in his head. The risk was astronomical. The odds of success remained impossibly low, but the alternative was watching humanity disappear into slavery and extinction. "Signal all defense stations," he commanded. "We launch in 30 hours. God help us all." The countdown clock in the command center showed 0:42:17 as Admiral Helmsight surveyed the tactical display. 41 Lazarus missiles sat in their launch tubes across 7 different platforms: Luna Base, the orbital defense stations, and 3 deep space installations that had been hastily retrofitted for the mission. Enemy fleet holding formation at 2.7 million kilometers, reported Lieutenant Steelhart. They've begun preliminary scanning of Earth's major population centers. Commander Ironvault gripped her chair as another transmission arrived from the Hegemony fleet. This time, Overlord Vexithara appeared alongside a dozen other alien species, all bearing the scars and markings of conquered civilizations forced into service. "Observe the fate of defiance," the Overlord hissed, gesturing to his enslaved subordinates. "These beings once possessed pride like yours. Now they serve as examples of our mercy. Join them willingly, or join them in chains after we burn your cities." The transmission shifted to real-time imagery of the alien fleet. The massive dreadnoughts moved with predatory grace, their hull plating gleaming with energy discharges. Each ship bristled with weapon systems that could reduce continents to ash. Dr. Shadowmere wiped nervous sweat from his palms as he monitored the quantum resonance chambers. Missile systems showing green across all platforms. The probability. Matrices are stabilizing within acceptable parameters. "Define acceptable," General Stormwright muttered. 68% chance the missiles will maintain quantum coherence during flight. 32% chance of premature detonation or dimensional collapse. Engineer Ironfall added his own grim assessment. "Even if the delivery systems work perfectly, we're still dealing with alien defensive technologies we don't fully understand. Their point defense systems might be capable of—" "They're moving," interrupted Captain Flintstone, his voice tight with urgency. "The fleet is advancing to attack formation, 15 minutes ahead of our projected timeline." The tactical display showed the Hegemony vessels spreading into a bombardment pattern that would allow them to target every major city on Earth simultaneously. It was a demonstration of overwhelming force designed to break humanity's spirit before. The first shot was fired. Admiral Helmsight felt the weight of 8 billion lives pressing down on his shoulders. Every calculation suggested they were about to commit suicide, launching untested weapons against a technologically superior enemy that had conquered half the galaxy. "Sir," Dr. Nightingale called out, "we're detecting massive energy buildup in their lead vessels. They're preparing to demonstrate their firepower." On the main screen, one of the alien dreadnoughts rotated toward Earth's moon. A beam of coherent plasma lanced across space, striking the lunar surface with devastating precision. Where Luna Base's secondary facility had stood, only a glowing crater remained. "That was a warning shot," Commander Ironvault observed with forced calm. "Next time they'll target a populated area." Colonel Grimstone stepped forward, his face set in granite determination. "No next time. We launch now or we never launch at all." Admiral Helmsight looked around the command center one final time. These men and women represented the best of humanity. Brilliant scientists, dedicated soldiers, fearless explorers who had spent their lives pushing the boundaries of what was possible. If they failed, Earth would fall. If they succeeded, well, they were about to find out what happened when human ingenuity met alien arrogance. "All stations, this is command," he announced over the fleet-wide channel. "Execute Operation Lazarus. Launch when ready." The first missile departed Luna Base with a flash of quantum energy that briefly outshone the sun. Then another from Orbital Platform 7, Then 3 more from the deep space installations. Within 90 seconds, 41 impossible weapons were streaking through space toward the hegemony fleet, each one existing in multiple probability states simultaneously, each one carrying the hopes and fury of an entire species. Dr. Shadowmere watched his instruments with growing amazement. The quantum coherence is holding. All missiles are maintaining superposition status. Time to target? Stormwright asked. 11 minutes at current velocity. The aliens will detect conventional missile approaches in approximately... Wait. Captain Flintstone's voice changed. Sir, they're not detecting anything. Their sensor arrays aren't registering our attack. Admiral Helmsight allowed himself the smallest smile. That's because there's nothing to detect yet. Those missiles won't decide what they are until they reach their targets. The waiting began. The alien fleet continued its inexorable advance toward Earth, completely unaware of the 41 quantum missiles racing toward them through the void. Overlord Vexithera's flagship, the Dominion's Fist, led the formation with arrogant confidence, its massive bulk bristling with weapons designed to crack planetary cores. 8 minutes to impact, Dr. Shadowmere reported, his voice barely above, a whisper. Quantum coherence holding at 94% across all missiles. Admiral Helmsight watched the tactical display with the intensity of a man whose species hung in the balance. The alien vessels maintained their bombardment formation, utterly confident in their technological superiority. Their mistake was assuming humanity would fight like every other species they had conquered. Commander Ironvault monitored the enemy communications channels. They're discussing which cities to target first. Beijing, New York, London. They're treating this like a routine extermination. Sir, Lieutenant Steelheart called out urgently, massive energy spike from the lead alien vessel. They're charging their primary bombardment cannon. On the main screen, the Dominion's Fist began to glow with malevolent energy. The weapon system that had glassed entire continents across the galaxy was preparing to demonstrate Earth's helplessness. Target appears to be Mexico City, Captain Flintstone reported with barely controlled rage. 15 million people. General, Stormwright's knuckles whitened as he gripped his command chair. Time to impact? 4 minutes, 30 seconds, Dr. Shadowmere answered. The waiting was agony. On Earth's surface, emergency broadcasts warned populations to seek shelter, but everyone understood the futility. There was nowhere to hide from weapons that could vaporize continents. Sir, Engineer Ironfall called out. I'm detecting quantum fluctuations in the missile trajectories. The probability matrices are beginning to collapse as they approach their targets. This was the moment of truth. The Lazarus missiles had existed in superposition throughout their journey, simultaneously present and absent, armed and disarmed, successful and failed. Only when they interacted with their targets would the universe decide which reality would become true. 3 minutes to impact. Enemy vessel fully charged for bombardment. Admiral Helmsight opened a channel to every military installation on Earth. All stations, all personnel. In 90 seconds, we'll know if humanity lives or dies. Whatever happens, remember that we didn't go quietly into that dark night. The first Lazarus missile reached the outer edge of the alien fleet's defensive perimeter. Point defense systems remained inactive. There was nothing for them to target. The weapon existed as pure probability, undetectable until the moment of quantum collapse. 60 seconds, Dr. Shadowmere announced. The Dominion's Fist rotated its main cannon toward Earth, targeting calculations complete. Mexico City appeared on their targeting screens, 15 million human lives reduced to tactical coordinates. 30 seconds. Overlord Vexithara transmitted one final message to Earth. Witness the price of the quantum collapse began. 41 missiles suddenly became real, materializing inside alien hulls with devastating precision. The laws of physics, held in suspension for 11 minutes, reasserted themselves with explosive vengeance. The first alien dreadnought simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, weapons charging, crew preparing for bombardment. The next moment there was nothing but expanding plasma and scattered debris. Then the second ship died. And the third. Direct hits across the entire fleet. Captain Flintstone shouted over the celebration erupting in the command center. Quantum penetration successful on 38 of 41 missiles. The tactical display showed devastation beyond their wildest hopes. The hegemony's massive dreadnoughts, which had terrorized 1,000 worlds, were dying in rapid succession. Their shields, designed to stop conventional weapons, offered no protection against attacks that materialized inside their hulls, but 3 ships survived, including the Dominion's Fist. Overlord Vexithara's enraged transmission filled the command center. Impossible! Your primitive weapons cannot... The signal cut to static as another damaged vessel exploded in the background. Remaining enemy vessels are breaking formation, Lieutenant Steelheart reported. They're attempting to retreat. Admiral Helmsight's expression hardened. No. They came here to destroy our cities and enslave our children. They don't get to run away when the fight turns against them. Dr. Shadowmere looked up from his instruments with grim satisfaction. Sir, we still have 3 Lazarus missiles in reserve. The manufacturing teams completed them just before launch. Target the survivors, Stormwright ordered. Let's finish this. The final 3 missiles launched from Luna Base, quantum uncertainty carrying them across space toward the fleeing alien vessels. This time, humanity's enemies knew what was coming, but knowledge provided no defense against weapons that existed outside normal reality. The last dreadnought died 18 minutes later, its hull cracking open like an egg as quantum forces tore it apart from within. Space fell silent around Earth. The silence following the destruction of the hegemony fleet was broken by a transmission from deep space. Not from the obliterated attack force, but from something far more ominous. Admiral Helmsight felt his stomach drop as the massive holographic display materialized a figure that dwarfed even Overlord Vexithara in its alien malevolence. I am High Regent Morthak of the Hegemony Core Fleet, the creature announced, its voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. Where Vexithara had been merely arrogant, this being radiated cold intelligence and merciless calculation. Your primitive deception has cost us 47 vessels and delayed our schedule by several rotations. Commander Ironvault quickly cross-referenced the transmission's origin. Signal is coming from approximately 12 light-years away. Multiple massive energy signatures, at least 200 vessels. The High Regent continued with clinical detachment. We underestimated your capacity for treachery. This error will not be repeated. Our main battle fleet is already en route to your system. You have purchased yourselves 6 months of existence with your clever ambush. The hologram shifted to show a fleet that beggared imagination. Dreadnoughts, the size of cities, carrier vessels bristling with fighter craft, and fortress ships that could serve as mobile bases for planetary sieges. This wasn't a conquering force. It was an extinction fleet. In recognition of your cunning, we offer you this choice, Morthak announced. Surrender unconditionally within 10 rotations, and we will preserve 10% of your species as breeding stock. Continue resistance, and we will crack your world like an egg and scatter the pieces to the void. The transmission ended, leaving Earth's leadership staring at the implications. 6 months to prepare for a force 20 times larger than what they had just barely defeated. Dr. Shadowmere was already running calculations. At our current production rate, we could manufacture maybe 800 Lazarus missiles in 6 months. Against 200 capital ships with upgraded defenses, they won't make the same mistake twice, Engineer Ironfall added grimly. They'll adapt their shields, modify their tactics. Our quantum weapons might not penetrate their defenses a second time. General Stormwright paced the command center like a caged predator. Then we adapt too. We have 6 months to develop new weapons, new strategies, new ways to make them regret coming to our system. But Captain Flintstone was studying the stellar charts with growing excitement. "Sir, there's something else to consider. That fleet is still 12 light-years away. If they're planning to arrive in 6 months, they're already traveling at significant sublight velocity." Dr. Nightingale caught his implication immediately. They can't change course easily. They're committed to a specific trajectory, a specific arrival time. And they're expecting to find the same primitive humans they just lost contact with. Admiral Helmsight felt the first stirring of genuine hope. "You're suggesting we have more options than just sitting here waiting for them?" "Much more," Colonel Grimstone interjected, his scarred face lighting up with predatory anticipation. "They're coming to us because they think we're trapped in this system. But what if we're not here when they arrive?" The implications rippled through the room. Earth had always been humanity's cradle, but it didn't have to be their grave. Commander Ironvault pulled up manufacturing reports from across the globe. "The Lazarus Project has pushed our industrial capacity beyond anything we thought possible. If we apply that same innovation to other technologies—" "Mass drivers for asteroid mining," Dr. Shadowmere suggested. "We could strip the asteroid belt and build a mobile fleet in 6 months. Orbital habitats using the same quantum technology," Engineer Ironfall added, "self-sustaining colonies that could support millions of people." Admiral Helmsight walked to the observation window and stared out at Earth. Beautiful, blue, seemingly fragile in the vast darkness of space. For 70,000 years, humanity had called this world home. The thought of abandoning it felt like sacrilege. But then he thought about the 15 million people in Mexico City who were still alive because of humanity's refusal to surrender. He thought about the children playing in parks who would never become alien slaves. He thought about the future of the human race hanging in the balance. "We're not running away," he announced to the assembled leadership. "We're expanding. The hegemony thinks they're hunting a species trapped on one world. They're about to discover they're facing a civilization that spans entire star systems." General Stormwright nodded with savage satisfaction. "They want to play the long game? Fine. We'll show them what humans can accomplish when we have something to fight for." Dr. Nightingale began pulling up technical specifications for interstellar vessels. "The quantum drive technology from the Lazarus Project could be adapted for faster-than-light travel. If we can crack that barrier, then we become the ones. Choosing when and where to fight," Colonel Grimstone finished. "Instead of waiting for them to arrive, we meet them on our terms." Lieutenant Steelheart looked up from her communications console with barely controlled excitement. "Sirs, I'm receiving responses from governments worldwide. When word of our victory spread, every nation immediately began converting their industrial capacity for military production. Brazil is offering their entire rare earth mining operation. Japan wants to contribute their robotics expertise. Russia is providing uranium for power systems." Admiral Helmsight smiled for the first time since the crisis began. The hegemony made one critical error in their calculations. They assumed fear would divide us. Instead, they've given humanity exactly what we needed: a common enemy and a shared purpose. The war room fell silent as everyone contemplated the magnitude of the task ahead. 6 months to transform human civilization from a single-world species to an interstellar power. 6 months to develop weapons and technologies that could challenge a galactic empire. 6 months to prove that Earth's children would not go gently into that dark night. "All right, people," Admiral Helmsight announced. "Let's get to work. We have a species to save and a galaxy to liberate." 6 months later, High Regent Morthak's extinction fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, expecting to find a cowed world awaiting judgment. Instead, they found empty space where Earth should have been. "Report," the High Regent commanded from the bridge of his flagship, the Stellar Annihilator. "Scanning, my lord," replied his tactical officer, a Vrextai whose species had been conquered 3 centuries ago. No energy signatures from the third planet, no orbital installations, no defensive positions. Morthak's compound eyes narrowed dangerously. "They cannot simply disappear." Increased scanning range. What they found defied every tactical assumption. The hegemony had developed over millennia of conquest. Earth hung in its accustomed orbit, but it was different. The blue marble of 6 months ago had been transformed into something that pulsed with artificial energy patterns. Massive orbital rings encircled the planet, connected by elevator cables that stretched beyond the atmosphere. The moon itself had been partially disassembled, its mass converted into hundreds of space habitats that formed defensive clusters throughout the inner system. Impossible, Morthak breathed. No species develops this rapidly. His science officer, a broken remnant of the once proud Solari Empire, provided the analysis with trembling appendages. My lord, the quantum signatures suggest massive industrial expansion. They appear to have converted their entire planetary economy to military production. But the true shock came when the first human vessels decloaked. They emerged from quantum space like materializing nightmares. Not the primitive chemical rockets the hegemony expected, but sleek predators that moved with impossible grace. Each ship bristled with weapon systems that hummed with barely contained energy. Admiral Helmsight's voice echoed across subspace from the bridge of humanity's new flagship, the Indomitable. Hi, Regent Morthak. This is Admiral Corvin Helmsight of the United Earth Defense Fleet. You are trespassing in human space. The transmission caused chaos on the hegemony command ship. Species that had been conquered for centuries had never dared address their masters as equals, let alone deliver ultimatums. Your species has 6 minutes to reverse course and leave this system, Admiral Helmsight continued with calm authority. Failure to comply will result in the immediate destruction of your fleet. Morthak's rage finally exploded. Primitive mammals! You dare threaten the hegemony? We have conquered 1,000 worlds. We will strip the flesh from your bones and— His words were cut short as space around his fleet erupted with impossible light. Humanity's new weapon systems made the original. Lazarus missiles seemed primitive by comparison. 6 months of desperate innovation had produced horrors that the galaxy had never imagined. Quantum disruptors that caused matter to forget how to exist. Gravity bombs that created miniature black holes. Dimensional rifts that transported enemy. Vessels directly into the hearts of stars. The hegemony's extinction fleet, 200 vessels that had never known defeat, began dying with terrifying efficiency. Impossible! Morthak screamed as his flagship's shields collapsed under assault from weapons that operated outside normal space-time. Our technology is superior. Our empire spans half the galaxy. Commander Ironvault's voice answered from the Indomitable's bridge. Your empire conquered species that fought with the same assumptions you do. We're not playing by your rules. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted 18 minutes. When the quantum fire faded, debris from the hegemony fleet formed a cloud of expanding metal that would orbit Sol for millennia, a monument to the folly of underestimating human ingenuity. But humanity's response wasn't finished. From the transformed Earth, from the mobile habitats scattered throughout the system, from bases that had been established on a dozen worlds, the human defense fleet began launching the largest military operation in galactic history. General Stormwright's voice reached. Every human vessel simultaneously. Operation Retribution is now active. Every world the hegemony has conquered, every species they've enslaved, every civilization they've destroyed. Today, we settle that debt. The fleet that departed Sol bore no resemblance to the primitive vessels that had first detected the hegemony. Scouts. These were ships born from quantum mathematics and forged in the fire of desperate necessity. They moved faster than light itself, carried weapons that could crack planets, and bore crews who had learned that the universe's greatest predators could be killed. 6 months later, the hegemony core worlds received their first taste of human warfare. Ancient fortresses that had stood for millennia crumbled before weapons that attacked through dimensions the aliens didn't know existed. Slave worlds found themselves liberated by fleets that arrived without warning and departed after. ensuring the former captives could defend themselves. Dr. Shadomir, now serving as head of human technological development, transmitted the final message to what remained of the hegemony leadership. For centuries, you've terrorized this galaxy because you believed might made right. Today, you learn what happens when you encounter a species that turns that philosophy against you. Surrender, and we'll allow you to exist under our protection. Continue your aggression, and we'll demonstrate what human creativity can accomplish when properly motivated. The galactic balance of power had shifted permanently. Where once the hegemony had imposed order through fear, humanity began establishing a new paradigm based on a simple principle. Those who prey upon others would discover that somewhere in the universe, there's always a bigger predator. Earth itself became the capital of a growing confederation of liberated worlds. Species that had thought freedom was a myth, suddenly finding themselves with allies who possessed both the power and the will to defend it. And in the depths of space, human exploration fleets pushed outward toward distant galaxies, carrying a message that would echo across the cosmos for millennia. Humanity had received their tribute demand. They had answered with missiles, and they were just getting started.